Hello and welcome to the CPD session on preparing for English functional skills delivery. My name is Patricia Devlin. I'm a Provider Development Officer for Functional Skills. My role is to support centres through the planning, onboarding and CPD process for NCFE qualifications. My background is in English, having taught it for 20 years. I'm also joined by my colleague Charmaine, who is supporting with any technical issues. So before we start, I'd just like you to think and reflect, how confident do you currently feel about delivering functional skills English? So 10 for extremely confident and 1 for not confident at all. So the objective of this session is to explore key curriculum requirements, effective teaching strategies and practical resources to engage learners and promote achievement. So we'll have an introduction, we'll be looking then at curriculum requirements, scenario-based teaching dilemmas, effective teaching strategies and a summary. So first we'll have a welcome and introductions. So this activity called Words and Wishes. So what I'd like you to do is in breakout rooms, introduce yourself and share one word on how you are feeling and one wish for your learners this year. And then we'll feed back in the main room. So we're going to start with a fact or opinion activity. So I've tried to make this a fun way to recap knowledge. So if you're listening to this in the recording, why don't you have a little go at working out whether each of these are fact or opinion. So the first one, Functional Skills English is a qualification offered at entry level through to level 2. Fact or opinion? And the answer is fact. The next one, planning lessons is the most enjoyable part of teaching. Fact or opinion? That is opinion. The Functional Skills curriculum requires learners to develop reading, writing, speaking and listening skills. Fact or opinion? And that one is fact. Next, teachers should always use group work in their English lessons. Fact or opinion? That is an opinion. Fact or opinion, Functional Skills English assessments are available both on paper and online. And that one is a fact. Next, the best way to teach writing is through real-life scenarios. And that one is opinion. The next one, learners often find spelling and punctuation challenging. Fact or opinion? So the answer to this is opinion, because learners often do find spelling and punctuation challenging, but it's generalized, it's not an absolute, so therefore it's an opinion. Next, Functional Skills English is designed to develop skills that are useful in everyday life and work. Fact or opinion? And the answer is fact. Next, using technology makes English lessons more effective. Fact or opinion? And the answer is opinion. So next we'll have a look at an overview of the structure of the assessment and look at the content changes. So all the entry-level reading assessments are 40 minutes with the writing staggered at 45, 50 and 55 as the levels increase. The spelling, punctuation and grammar for entry levels are now incorporated into the assessment. The guided learning hours are 55 hours, with the total qualification time being at 66 hours to allow for practice assessments. The Level 1 and Level 2 papers are an hour for the reading and 70 minutes, so that's 1 hour 10 minutes for the writing. This is an increase of 10 minutes. So next we're going to go into groups, and I would like you to add the skill area and level for the content statements, and you'll have around 5 minutes to look at this. If you're listening to the recording, you may wish to pause the recording and have a look. The task is to match the skills area and the level for the content statements to the columns. So you've got the skills of reading, writing and SLC, and the levels entry level 1 to 3 and also level 1 and 2. You may wish to pause the recording. So here are the answers. I'll give you a few moments to have a look at these. So next we're going to have a look at some scenario-based teaching dilemmas. So in your breakout rooms, or if you're watching this on the recorded version, you may wish to select scenarios and discuss and add responses, and then we'll feedback as a whole group. As this is a studio recording version of this, the Padlet responses are also on the following slides, so you can see what was discussed in the groups. So here we have some of the scenarios. So you've got the reluctant writer, mixed level mayhem, digital divide, assessment anxiety, real world relevance, and speaking and listening standoff. Next, you have a description of the scenario. So for example, the first one, a level 1 learner consistently avoids writing tasks, claiming that they're no good at English and that writing isn't relevant to their job. And then the final column is some prompts. So for example, if we look at the first one again, what strategies could you use to build confidence and show relevance? Would you adapt the task, change the format, or use peer support? So there's just some prompts to help you. So if you're listening to the recording, you may wish to pause this to have a go at selecting some of the scenarios and looking at how you would resolve these dilemmas. So the next few slides have the group discussions results on and their ideas for what they come up with. So I'll go through each of these, but you may wish to pause the recording so you can look at these in more detail. You've also got what the scenario was at the top. So this one was mixed level mayhem. This one was real life scenarios to make relevant. This one was mixed level mayhem again. And then another real world relevance. And then here are just some other solutions which you may want to have a look at as well. Next, we're going to look at sharing strategies. So for this, I would like you to create a 10-minute learner activity using a given text. And I'd like you to try to include scaffolded learning, such as sentence starters, visual prompts, or role play. And you may wish to set out the example as it is below. So for example, you'd have the type of text. So in this case, if we look at the example on the screen, it's a customer review. The skill that I would like you to look for on this one would be reading for inference. The task would be learners highlight the clues about the reviewer's mood, expectation and satisfaction, and then some scaffolded sentence starters. You've got the reviewer feels because, so you've got some examples there. So that's just an example, but on the next few slides you have examples of the different activities, and there are 3 different scenarios. So you've got text 1, which is a customer review about wireless earbuds, and that would be looking at reading for inference. Here we have a response for this from what group 1 did. Next we have text 2, and this one was the local council letter, and the skill for this was summarising. So if you are having a go at this, you may wish to look through these and then go back and decide which one you're going to maybe have a look at and try to create a session. And again, we've got some responses there from the 2 different groups that looked at the council letter. And then we've got text 3. So this was a job advert for customer service assistants, and the skill for this was retrieving information. And again, you can see some examples there from what group 3 did and how they might use this. And then again, the same one for the job advert with group 5. And again, they've also come up with some questions that they might use as well for retrieving information. So next, having a look at some further ideas and strategies. So English into vocational context. So use job descriptions to teach formal tone and summarising. Practice email writing for workplace scenarios, for example, shift changes or complaints, and role play interviews to build speaking and listening skills. Scaffold writing, so provide writing frames for reports, letters or diary entries. Use sentence starters and word banks, and model writing live and annotate it with the learner's input. Also looking at formative assessment and feedback, so using things like exit tickets, so one thing I learned or one thing I'm unsure about. You could also use traffic light cards for confidence checks, and offer live feedback during writing tasks using sticky notes or digital comments. And then looking at differentiation for mixed ability and EAL learners. So you could use tiered text, so same topic, different complexity. Offer visual aids, glossaries and translation tools. And you can also pair learners for peer support and scaffold questioning. So I'd like you just to reflect now on how confident do you currently feel about delivering functional skills English. So 10 for extremely confident and 1 for not confident at all. Here is a link to where our functional skills events are found. And here we have some key contacts. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.